Owning Havah. By What Am I Thinking? The static in the walls. The radiator in the corner of the room hissed like a dying animal spitting rust-colored water onto the frayed carpet. Outside, the night took over Congress Heights, but inside the cramped apartment on Alabama Avenue, the darkness felt heavier. It felt alive. Havah sat on the edge of the mattress, her fingers twitching rhythmically against her thigh, a phantom reminder of her days as a dance instructor. Back when she had a studio. Back when she had dreams. Now her eyes were wide, bloodshot, and locked on the door. She could hear the low, distant hum of the city, but underneath it she heard the whispers. They were in the floorboards, they were in the drywall. On the cracked coffee table sat a strip of charred aluminum foil, a hollowed-out pen casing, and 3 small, pale blue pills stamped with an M and a 30. Fentanyl. 3 years ago, Havah was a peer recovery specialist. She was the one who wore the lanyard, held the clipboard, and walked broken people back from the edge of the abyss. Now she was looking down into it. She had lost her job, lost her studio, and her son had been taken by child services months ago. She told herself she was just managing the pain, but the paranoia told her something else. They are coming for you. You really think you're hiding, Havah? The voice came from the shadows near the kitchen. Havah gasped, her heart violently hammering against her ribs. Her older brother, Miles, stepped into the dim light of the single overhead bulb. He looked immaculate, his arms crossed over his chest, but his eyes were completely devoid of light. He hadn't visited her in over a year, not since she stole his diamond chain to pawn it. Yet here he was. Miles, she whispered, her voice cracking, a cold sweat breaking out across her forehead. How did you get past the locks? I chained the door. I checked it 6 times. Locks don't stop the truth, Miles said, his voice flat, carrying an unnatural, echoing depth. He walked over and looked down at the framed photos on the wall, ancestors, family, and her son. Look at him. You always said you wanted him to be successful. You taught him how to dance, how to feel the rhythm, but you never taught him how to survive. He's failing his classes, Havah. He's drowning out there because his mother preferred the numbness over the work. Don't start with me, Havah shrieked, clutching her knees to her chest. She rocked back and forth, her skin crawling with the agonizing prickle of withdrawal. I gave him everything. I held it together after the divorce. The world owes me, Miles, this neighborhood, this system. It took my studio. It took my mind. Miles leaned in, his face inches from hers. The light above them flickered, and for a split second his skin looked gray like ash. Nobody took anything from you that you didn't hand over, he hissed. You used to talk to your clients about ownership. You told them to own their lives, own their healing, but look at you. You've bought into the ultimate victimhood. You're playing a game where you think the system is your monster, but the monster is sitting right here on this mattress. Shut up, Havah whimpered, pressing her hands over her ears. But the voice didn't come from outside anymore, it was echoing inside her skull. You want to know why black women in the city have to fight so hard, Havah? Miles's image began to warp, his shadow stretching up the wall and bleeding across the ceiling like spilled ink. Because they're fighting ghosts. They're fighting the labels given to them. But you didn't just accept the label, you became the statistic. You stopped asking for permission to live, and instead you asked for permission to die. Havah scrambled backward, her spine hitting the wall. She blinked hard, tears streaming down her hollow cheeks. The room shifted. Miles wasn't standing there anymore. The kitchen was empty. The door was still chained and deadbolted from the inside. She was entirely alone. A delusion, a waking nightmare born of chemical rot and sleep deprivation. Her body began to violently shake. The craving hit her like a physical blow to the stomach, a suffocating vacuum that demanded the blue pills. With trembling, claw-like hands, she reached for the lighter and the foil on the table. She needed to nod off. She needed the whispers to stop. She melted the pill, inhaling the toxic chemical smoke through the pen casing. The numbness hit her brain instantly, a heavy velvet curtain dropping over her consciousness. Her breathing slowed to a shallow, agonizing crawl. Her chin dropped to her chest. She was sinking into the dark, heavy floodwaters of the high. But as her vision blurred into blackness, she felt a freezing, heavy hand grip her ankle. She forced her heavy eyelids open. From beneath the worn sofa, a thick, black, tar-like liquid was bubbling up, pouring into the room. Slithering out from the darkness under the couch was a figure, a twisted, melting manifestation of Miles, his face a distorted mask of pure malice. You wanted to own something, Havah, the entity rasped, its voice vibrating through her failing lungs. The black water rushed up, covering the coffee table, swallowing the photos of her family, climbing up her chest. She tried to scream, but her throat was paralyzed by the fentanyl. The dark entity gripped her throat with an impossibly cold hand, its black eyes staring into her soul. Now you will own the grave.